U.S. agriculture has been the target of agroterrorism attacks, with a third Chinese national being arrested for smuggling in biological material. And we want to look at provisions under U.S. law to protect the food supply. Roger McEowen with the Washburn School of Law joins us now with the latest. Roger, thank you so much for your time today. I know one of these events involves a fungus that causes head blight in crops, and the latest one is related to nematodes. Speak to the threat that these pose to American agriculture first.
Well, good to be with you, Tammy. You're right that fungus, it does create head blight in wheat, barley, maize, and rice. And many of our farmers are familiar with that. This is not something that's new, but the fact that it was brought in from China to take to a lab makes us wonder whether they're trying to juice this up to create more problems in agriculture. Roundworms, of course, the most recent one earlier this week, those live in the soil and they attack plant roots and they lead to a variety of problems that affect both crop health and yield. And they can also act as facilitators for other pathogens. So if you get this out into the crops, you can cause dramatic economic harm. And you can imagine what could happen to, you have supply chain issues, you could have store shelves that would be empty of products until this gets cleaned out of the system. It could create tremendous economic harm.
Well, it definitely raises concerns and questions about the safety of our food supply. Can you talk about some of the regulations in place for imported food and seeds?
Well, the Food and Drug Administration oversees about 80% of the U.S. food supply, and that includes imported processed foods and seafood and dairy. And then you have the USDA, on the other hand, that regulates the import of meat, poultry, and egg products. And so foreign countries that are exporting into our country those products, they have to have an inspection system in place equivalent to what we have in the United States. And then we have the Customs and Border Patrol that works alongside the FDA and the USDA to ensure that imported food meets all of the entry requirements. So you have those three government agencies trying to work together to make sure our system is protected.
And of course, U.S. law also has that multi-layered approach in place to stay protected from bioterrorism. So go into a little more detail about what that entails.
Well, on the legal side, we had a Bioterrorism Act. It's got a long title to it. I won't bore people with that. That was enacted in 2002. And then we have the Food Safety Modernization Act of 2011. And those laws grant federal agencies, primarily the Food and Drug Administration and the USDA's Food and Safety and Inspection Service, very significant authority to prevent and respond to threats, bioterrorism threats. And it mandates that the importers provide the FDA with prior notice of all shipments that come into the country and allow for inspection. So that's where they're trying to deal with bioterrorism.
So what challenges still remain as we kind of stay on alert here for any additional attacks?
Well, we do have vulnerabilities. No system is going to be 100% protected, but the U.S. crop production system is very vast and decentralized, which makes comprehensive monitoring very difficult. And many pathogens and plant viruses could be introduced covertly. And detection often relies on farmers noticing symptoms, but that comes in after significant damage has occurred. In the livestock sector, we've got the opposite situation. We have high concentration with a large amount of animals or birds in small areas. And that's very vulnerable to bioterrorism attack that can do substantial damage with just a single event. And so the supply chain systems in both crop and livestock production really have these areas of vulnerability with respect to bioterrorism attack. Then you add in synthetic biology and global trade. That increases the complexity of defending the food supply. So it's a tough job, and I don't envy Secretary Rollins. It's going to give her some sleepless nights trying to deal with all this stuff.
Oh, I'm sure. That's Roger McEowen with the Washburn School of Law. Thank you for that insight today.